is what the nurses need. They're not listening to nurses. Nurses need good health care. Nurses sent this message, excuse me, nurses sent this message to Allina again last week. It was more of the same. Concede on our issue, then maybe we'll talk to you about yours. It's hard to define that as negotiations. As a result, nurses have no other choice than to exercise their voice. As of 6 a.m. this morning, the nurses have filed a 10-day intent to strike notice with Allina Health. Nurses will go on strike at 7 a.m. on September 5th, Labor Day. They will be out as long as it takes to get a fair contract, because I can assure you, nurses are more determined than ever. Now I'd like to introduce our president, Mary Turner.
My name's Mary Turner, president of Minnesota Nurses, and I'm an intensive care nurse at North Memorial. And even though I am not an Allina nurse, I am with the nurses along with 20,000 other nurses across the state and 185 nurses across the nation. And we will do everything to support our brothers and sisters at Allina. And that means that we'll be there to donate our money, and just like the Minnesota way, we'll bring our hot dishes and our pans of bars and our pots of sloppy joe, and heck, we might even start stockpiling these Martha cookies that people like to eat here. All right, but we're going to do this, and we're going to do this because we know as nurses that we need good health care. We need a plan that can allow us to stay on the job. Nurses run into more infection and injury and illness than any other people in the population. We sustain more injuries at work than construction workers or police officers. And because of this, we need to have health insurance that we can afford to use. And so we get it. And that's why we're fighting, because Allina is denying the nurses the chance to stay healthy, to stay on the job, to take care of you, the people of Minnesota. So we're going to stand strong. Allina has got to learn that it's not 4,000 or 4,800 nurses that are going to be fighting on Labor Day. It's going to be 20,000 plus fighting them. Thank you.
Offer two of the plans. We increase our out-of-pocket expenses. We offer that once a nurse switches to an Allina plan, they're out of the plans for good. No switching back and forth. In exchange, we ask for a security guard, workplace safety training, and no patient assignment for charge nurses. The nurses got nothing concrete back from Allina on these other issues. The offer we voted down says they may look, and I repeat, may look at training and labor management. On Tuesday, they said this again. Not even to us. Allina said it to the mediators who are trying to help us get a deal. They wouldn't address it until the nurses offered a proposal on how to eliminate our health insurance plans. They don't seem to realize that these insurance plans are why nurses continue to work for Allina. The insurance is why we continue to be hit, punched, kicked, and spit on. It's why we can take care of our patients without ever thinking of our own safety. It is why we can turn a patient who's twice as big as us all by ourselves, because we're short-staffed. Nurses have been telling Allina that we have to keep our insurance, but Allina is not listening. Once again, they don't trust the nurses' professional opinion of what we need for ourselves and our patients. We're willing to strike to save our insurance. We're prepared to be out for as long as it takes to protect our lives and our livelihoods. I can speak for other Allina nurses, and they feel the same way. This is the nurses' voice. Our patients deserve good care. We deserve good care. And we know what good care looks like because we are professionals too. I'd like to introduce Bunny Engeldorf.
Hi, good morning. My name is Bunny Engeldorf and I am a registered nurse, and I have been for many years, and I'm proud to say that I've had the opportunity to take care of citizens of Minnesota. I am a mental health nurse at United Hospital. I am an Allina nurse. I have participated in negotiating the contracts for a number of years. This negotiations has been an assault on our patients, their safety, on our communities, on our nurses. That's not okay. We proposed staffing rules. We went to the table not to talk about health insurance, but we went to the table to negotiate staffing and workplace safety. We offered the most basic common sense proposals on staffing. We asked to exclude the charge nurse from a patient assignment. It would allow the charge nurse to manage the department and improve care for our patients while the other nurses take care of those under their assignments. The charge nurse would still be able to cover for nurses when necessary, even to get a break. Often we don't get to eat or go to the bathroom during our 8-hour or even sometimes 12-hour shifts. This would help with that. As we did with the insurance, it was a compromise on what nurses needed. It wasn't the patient ratios that we initially started with. Allina won't even respond to us on this proposal. This is also an attack on our union. Allina won't listen to us individually, nor will they listen to us collectively. Today they're telling us we don't need staffing or training on how to protect ourselves from violence in the hospital. And I do work in an area where we do experience violence, not just on our mental health units, in our emergency rooms, but in our actual patient units. Our society is more violent, and we're seeing that in our hospital. Tomorrow they'll be telling us we don't need a pension. That will be just fine with their retirement. We won't give up because we know what happens if we do. If we give up, that gives up our patient safety, our voice for our patients, and the nursing profession. We don't know what will happen if we don't get workplace safety. We know what will happen if staffing doesn't improve. We know what happens when we're injured and we have to find a way to pay that $4,000 bill. We say no, we're not going to let these things happen. Not today, not tomorrow, not in the rest of my career, and hopefully not in the rest of the career of the nurses, that it will continue beyond me. I'd like to introduce Denise Speck from Education Minnesota.
Good morning. I am Denise Speck, an elementary teacher, currently serving as president of Education Minnesota. I'm here to say that the 86,000 members of Education Minnesota are standing behind Minnesota nurses. All right. You know, educators and nurses have a lot in common. Women are the majority of both of our professions. Our voices at the workplace are not always heard. We are well educated and licensed, and that's often taken. Not everyone can do what we do. Just as teachers educate our students, nurses teach patients about their care. Teachers are concerned about class size and suffocating special education paperwork, just like nurses worry about patient ratios. We both often worry more about the vulnerable people in our care than ourselves. And finally, we are the voice that says no when the boss wants to cut budgets that our students and our patients depend on. We are advocates for the young and the sick. and we take that responsibility seriously. You know, Minnesota nurses are asking for the basics: safety, protection, and care. We care for the nurses just like they care for us. It's a no-brainer that Education Minnesota stands with Minnesota nurses. We stood with them in June, we stand with them now, and we will stand with them for as long as it takes. Now I'd like to introduce to you Executive Director from AFSCME Council 5, Elliot Seid.
Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. My name is Elliot Seid, and on behalf of the 40,000 members of AFSCME Council 5, we stand in solidarity and support with the nurses at Allina Hospital. We represent a lot of healthcare workers at Regions, at HCMC, at Fairview, and in our state system. We understand what it's like for staff to be attacked, to be hurt in the hospitals. When people like nurses are out there to help patients, they ought not have to suffer abuse and hurt themselves, and the employer ought to regard them with the dignity and respect that every worker in a workplace deserves. It's time for Allina to stop supporting millionaire CEOs and start supporting nurses every single day. At AFSCME, we're tired of hearing a millionaire CEO tell nurses who are working on the line that they can afford the health insurance that she can afford, because she can afford stuff that none of us can afford.
Right.
So it's about time that in this state, that the 1% say that it's time for everybody who works for a living to be able to have a living wage, to be able to have decent health care, to be able to retire with dignity and respect, and to be able to leave their workplace at the end of the day the way they came there at the beginning of the day, so they can get home to their families. On behalf of AFSCME Council 5, our executive board yesterday voted. This morning we are filing our intent to picket duties with the MNA, and we plan to be on the picket lines with MNA for as long as it takes for them to get a fair and decent contract. And yesterday our executive board decided also that to start out the strike fund for MNA, we're giving them a check today for $10,000. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce Julie Sharber from SEIU Healthcare of Minnesota, Local 113. Thank you very much.
My name is Julie Sharber. I'm a unit coordinator at Unity Hospital, and with SEIU, I'm on the organizing team. We support M&A, SEIU supports M&A, and we are filing a 10-day notice today so our members can picket alongside the nurses during their strike. And today we will be holding an informational picket there as well. Your fight is our fight. Allina is not only trying to deny affordable health care insurance to nurses, but also 350 service workers like us at Unity Hospital, who we've been fighting for our contract for over a year, our first contract. Nurses and healthcare workers are on the front line, together every day providing quality care. We will stand together on the picket line, leading the fight for all Minnesotans to have affordable health care insurance, safe staffing, and respect on the job. At SEIU, we like to say, when we fight, we win. That's right! I'd like to bring up now Bill McCarthy, President of the Minnesota AFL-CIO.
Thank you, Lois, and welcome. My name is Bill McCarthy, President of the Minnesota AFL-CIO, the state's labor federation representing more than 1,000 affiliated unions and 300,000 working Minnesotans. Welcome to the Labor Pavilion. To nurses both here and across the metro, I want you to know that Minnesota's labor movement stands in solidarity with you in your fight for a fair and just contract. Yeah. I know this fight has been defined by health care and patient safety, but this fight goes far beyond those issues. Allina has admitted this isn't about money. Brothers and sisters, make no mistake, this is about power. This is about taking away workers' collective voice. This is about Allina trying to break the back of the nurses union. Allina has pulled a page straight from the same corporate playbook that far too many employers in our state have already used. It wasn't about money when Crystal Sugar locked out their union workforce for 20 months. It wasn't about money when the Minnesota Orchestra locked out the musicians for 15 months.
Right.
And it's not about money now. It's about taking power from working people.
That's right.
Core belief in the labor movement is that an injury to one is an injury to all. We take it seriously. By going on strike, nurses are standing up and sacrificing for all workers. The Minnesota AFL-CIO and our affiliate unions will stand with the nurses for as long as it takes to defend the hard-earned rights working people of this state have fought for and even died for throughout our history. Stand strong, brothers and sisters. We're with you.
Thank you all for coming, and we will stick around now for any questions.
The last talks with the union didn't bring any counterproposals whatsoever. Both are accusing each other of not negotiating. What's your response to their claim that you're not willing to discuss important issues?
The question is, what is your response to not negotiating?
On Tuesday, we were in mediation. Mediation takes different, looks differently sometimes. And in this particular case, we were working on trying to kind of feel each other out a little bit. What might work? What might not work? What might be acceptable? Where's maybe a sweet spot that we could build off of? We fully engaged in that process. Allina's response was, we're not interested in doing this. We were trying to figure out how to put something together on kind of a what-if supposal basis in the hopes that we could build from that and begin to work on achieving an agreement that we could both live with. They didn't want to engage in that process. So they're going to say, we didn't give them a hard proposal. That's true, because we were trying to work to get to that place in a little different process than we've been using to date, because the process we've been using to date, that wasn't working so well. We wanted to try something new.
What do you do if they impose a contract?
What do we do if they impose a contract? I mean, well, we're out on strike. What do we do if they impose a contract? Remain on strike. We'll continue to try to fight, to fight against that. I'm not sure what, if anybody else has an answer to that. I don't think there's much you can do. If they impose, they impose. We will continue to fight against them to say, no, don't impose. I mean, really, that's a nuclear option. Why on earth would an employer do that to nurses? It's outrageous. We are willing to have these conversations with them. They have to listen to what we also have to say and what our issues are as well. Negotiations aren't one-sided. They need to come to the table and be serious about negotiating and listening and be willing to talk about what the trade-offs are. And they have not been willing to do that.
If they were to do that, you would believe they'd be in violation of labor laws?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'm terribly sorry. I don't want to say something that's incorrect, right? So I don't know.
Did
Two
not
other
get to the
unions
question.
representatives that said you'll be picketing with the nurses. Are you willing to take it further than that with these hospitals in order to maybe disrupt other ones?
The question is, are the other unions going to take it any further than picketing?
I guess, yeah, we're willing to, because we're bargaining our first contract and they're not willing to bargain with us. And if it gets to a certain point, yes, we are willing to stand behind the nurses and be out there with them and do what we have to. We're willing to take it further, yes.
Just, excuse me. In terms of an end date, folks, I mean, are you worried that they're going to try to just wait you out? I mean, how long? I mean, are you guys prepared for weeks or months, or do you have any idea, if you can look into your crystal ball, how long are you willing to go?
As long as it takes. I don't know. I can't say it any other way. This is an open-ended strike that was authorized overwhelmingly by the nurses. They have never felt so devalued and disrespected by this employer in their entire careers. They're mad. They don't understand why this is happening. It's unconscionable what's going on. This is nurses dealing with a healthcare industry, a corporation, about healthcare.
That's right. That's right.
Right. Nurses fight on. They're willing to take it on. And as President McCarthy said, this is so much bigger than what just the nurses are doing. It really is about power. It is about nurses' voice to advocate for their patients as well as for themselves and their families. This is a big deal.
As president of M&A, I want to send out a huge thank you to our labor family. And Allina, better take notice, because you asked the questions, how long will we stay out? We're going to stay out as long as it takes, and we're going to have the courage and the resources to do that because of all these people behind me and all I don't have a crystal ball, but I do know that Minnesota is a great state, and volunteerism and helping their neighbor is just a way of life for us. And this is what you're seeing today, is workers helping their neighbor, helping each other. And so we are going to do this, and we will win.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.